Brother Nathaniel Kapner. Let's see if we can describe him. See if we can describe him in 2 words without flipping through the dictionary. You may or may not have heard of him. Brother Nathaniel Kapner. He might have had his channel knocked down, I'm not sure. Because I didn't see him on the same link that I saw him before. I don't know if it's going to be harder to get his Google clips now or not, if he had his channel knocked down, but you could Google him up and see for yourself. Brother Nathaniel Kapner. How to describe him in 2 words without flipping through the dictionary. Relevant. Alright, that's my first adjective for Brother Nathaniel Kapner. He's relevant. I'll go further than relevant and even say necessary. I believe that Brother Nathaniel Kapner shares some important information that's not just relevant and not just important, but actually necessary. It's actually necessary to be informed. He's an insider with some inside information. Relevant to this generation and beyond. Okay. I would say he's brave. I would call Brother Nathaniel Kapner brave. I would call him brave because he knows how to make some enemies in some high places. Or some low places, depending on your perspective, depending on your viewing point. Your point of view? Like, what's your POV? Are you standing on a mountain and looking down at all these tiny objects? What are those people? Or are you looking up from the valley? Okay. He knows how to make some big enemies in either some high places or some low places, depending on your POV, your viewing point. I think he's standing on a mountain somewhere. Definitely relevant. Brave. Definitely brave. He's courageous. All right. So he makes some enemies in some high or low places. And there's a warrant on his head. What I mean by that is there are those who despise Brother Nathaniel Kapner so much that they would wish that he was dead. I'm sorry to say that, but it's the truth. So, since that happens to be the truth as far as I can see in my crystal, it's important to just send out a prayer to Brother Nathaniel Kapner that he's protected. See, there's a reason why he's hiding in the mountains. We have to pray that he stays well hidden, and really, if he's outside of the public view, it's really for his own good that you don't know where he is, because he has some enemies in some high places. Brother Nathaniel Kapner is a Jew who may be hated by the Jews. He's a Jew who may be hated by the Jews. Okay? And he's listed on the ADL site. I don't know if I can find that entertaining or disturbing when you see a Jew like Brother Nathaniel Kapner listed on the ADL site, which means he's been stamped as an anti-Semite, and he's a Jew, which could only mean what? He's a self-hating Jew? He's not self-hating at all. Brother Nathaniel Kapner does not hate himself. He simply loves truth and takes whatever risks come with speaking the truth, being on the inside of Judaism, and pointing out the satanic elements of the cult that he grew up in. So he has a few enemies, I'd say. When the ADL lists him, Brother Nathaniel Kapner, I think, I'm not sure, I'm pretty sure. I don't remember how they they might have classified him as an ex-Jew. How do you become an ex-Jew? He's born Jewish. All of a sudden, did he have a blood transfusion? Or is it that the Christ that he now worships is rejected, excommunicated from the Jewish community? And because Christ is an outsider, now Brother Nathaniel is an outsider? Did his blood change? Did he suddenly stop being Jewish? And now he's listed as an ex-Jew? I don't know if that's accurate. He can classify his own self any way he wants to. Nobody else can really classify him. He can classify him as his own self. Maybe he's an outsider of the Jewish community. Since he believes in Christ, I believe he's a Russian Orthodox Christian. Very brave person, Brother Nathaniel. Now, moving on. So one of the topics Brother Nathaniel Kapner covers is the Federal Reserve. And Brother Nathaniel Kapner lists who's running this Federal Reserve. He lists a few, it's 2 or 3 as top names. You can get that information from him, and we know that Rothschild is listed as pulling these strings, running this Federal Reserve. Why does that matter? Matters who's running the Federal Reserve. It's important to point out who's running the Federal Reserve. It's necessary because Lincoln did not die in vain. JFK did not die in vain. And all of our dead presidents who went to war against the criminal banksters, none of their blood was spilled in vain, whether they died a natural death or whether it was a homicide. Okay? Who can remember the name of the dead president that said something like, I don't have the exact quote written down, I killed the bank, something like that. I don't remember his name. That's why the question's out there for you. But his blood is not in vain. He did not live in vain, and he did not die in vain. Our American heroes, who are our American politicians, did not live and die in vain, and I'm speaking specifically of those that stood up to the banksters. And in the name of President Abraham Lincoln. Aren't we long past the time? Aren't we overdue for the greenback? Aren't we long past that time where we can say we fought and we bled and we died? What, the Civil War? To be liberated. And to be free from the biggest criminals of all, who funded both sides of the Civil War. How disgusting is that? What kind of human would fund both sides of a war just to sit back and watch blood spill while they're bankster pockets get stuffed by charging these unholy interest rates, lending to each side of the parliament? No human, only a demonic force would have the thought to do something so criminal on such a level that it is more than a shame. It's a crime against humanity that the House of Rothschild has not been prosecuted for being the initiator of this criminal organization that was once called the Illuminati but goes by other names every time it's investigated and discovered. It's a crime against humanity that the Rothschilds and the ones pulling the strings on this criminal org, the Federal Reserve, has not been prosecuted. Because our presidents did not die in vain, including but not limited to Abraham Lincoln.